Hello there, and welcome to the How to Market Your Horse Business podcast. So glad you're joining me here today. As you have likely guessed by now, my name is Denise Alvarez. I get to host you here each week. And before we dive in and I introduce you to my new friend Jillian, and we get to really talk in depth about digital advertising for your business, I'm going to quickly introduce myself just in case we're new friends. And I promise it will be quick, and then we'll jump in. Now, as I said, my name is Denise, and I am an equine business coach. It is the best. And so through my business, Storm Lily Marketing, what that means is I get to help dream chasing entrepreneurs in the horse world to build and grow a sustainable business without burning out. All that I do is so that you, as an equine entrepreneur, can be out in the barn, in the arena, behind the camera lens, in the round pen, in the pasture, wherever it is you are serving the horse world and the equine community. I want to help you do more of the work that you love. And so today we're doing that by way of digital advertising. Now, when you think about digital advertising, most often when I talk to clients or potential clients, they jump straight to Facebook ads or Meta ads. And that is absolutely one of the main places that many of you are going. But what happens is there's not a strategy behind it. And really what Jillian is sharing with us today is that there's a much bigger picture, a more sustainable picture for us to look at when we think about digital advertising as an equine business. So if you've just been boosting posts and crossing your fingers, hoping the inquiries would come in, we're going to break it down in a practical way so that you know how to effectively advertise for your equine business, get the right people in the door, and convert them to be quality customers that you actually enjoy working with. And ideally, yes, you're going to get that return on investment. But Jillian's going to talk about what it takes to get to that point and the investment that's required on your part as a business owner in order to see that return. Okay, I can't wait for you to meet Jillian. She is lovely, and she, of course, is a horse person as well, and she knows the ins and outs of the equine industry, and so I really think you're going to enjoy learning from her. So, without further ado, friends, let me introduce you to Jillian Blades-Rice. Okay, Jillian, thank you so much for joining me here today. I cannot wait for my audience to get to know you.
Thanks so much for having me, Denise. Looking forward to being here.
Yes, this is going to be so fun. This is a topic I know that so many people are asking about and wanting to learn more about. And so I want to dive into digital marketing and advertising. But first, I want people to get to know you, the person behind the microphone. And so will you share with them? Because of course, one of your unique aspects is a horse person as well. So you get them, you get their world. So tell us a bit about your journey to horses and your journey to creating your own agency where you're helping people with their advertising and marketing for their horse business.
Yeah, absolutely. So like many of us, got to start young. I saw my first pony at the local county fair when I was like 2. I ended up crying the rest of the day because I was too small to ride the pony ride. And so my parents immediately went, uh-oh, and it was just, it was downhill from there. So I grew up riding competing hunter jumpers in Southern California, all through my junior years. And then for college, I actually ended up going across the country to Ohio, to Audubon University. I originally wanted to be an FBI level barn manager. I didn't want to be behind a desk. I wanted to be in the barn. So I went and got my degree in equine business and facility management, but still with a minor in business administration. I think my junior year, I got to go down to West. Essentially I did it for free, but it was a barn managing, internship. And I absolutely loved it. But as we all know, especially until kind of more recently, grooming was it's a hard life. It used to be 24/7, 365. There's no real retirement plan. And I also discovered through that month down there that I really wanted to still be able to ride and own and show and enjoy my own horses.
Mm-hmm.
So that left me with kind of the question of, so then what do I actually want to go do?
Right.
And, so I took a marketing class my senior year and I instantly fell in love with it. It was creativity informed by data. And just the marriage of those two just absolutely, hit me, and the rest was history. So after college, I actually went to go work for Smart Pack Equine, now Smart Horse, in their customer care service department. I went to trade shows for them and really got immersed in a little bit more of the professional side of the industry. And then I actually ended up going out of the industry to go work for a digital marketing agency specializing in the transportation world. So much, different from the horse world. But I was there for about 9, 10 years as their director of marketing operations. And I got, you know, absolutely phenomenal experience of helping run a digital marketing agency and really not just focusing on clicks and impressions, but really what was moving the needle for our clients. They didn't hire us to get, top, we'll discuss this later, but top funnel metrics. But, they hired us to see real bottom line results. So that also informed just all the work I do now through my own business, Worley Marketing.
Beautiful, which, yeah, feel free to go ahead and tell people because I leave this part to you to be able to explain. So tell us a bit about more like marketing. What is your heart? What is your passion in that and how you're helping horse businesses?
Absolutely. So more leg marketing, originally got named because think everyone knows the term more leg from your
Right.
trainers. So I just loved that name from the beginning. And really we help drive businesses forward. So we not only focus on the digital marketing aspect, but we also take a look at all of their operations back end as well. We do a lot of automation and processes as well, just to make sure that cool, we're getting in all of this business through the digital marketing end. But hey, let's make sure all your back end processes work for you and scale as you grow. And a lot of that I pulled from, director of marketing operations for an agency in a different industry.
Sure.
So really, we look at the whole package with our clients. We don't just give them, new leads, new business, and go here you go.
Yeah.
Because, if one part of their business isn't up to snuff or isn't as great as it could be, that new business is going to suffer and ultimately not lead to longevity for them. So we really look at the whole needle and make sure that, everything works at tandem with each other.
Awesome. So good. Yes, sustainability is so, so key. So I love that. I'm such a fan of that. Okay. So I'm curious, if you said it, I missed it. So how did you go from, okay, I'm working in transportation industry and doing these things, and now I'm going to go start my own business and be in the horse world. I'm guessing, and I think you told me this, but for the benefit of everybody else, like, were you still connected in the industry as you were doing something else, because obviously, like you said, lifelong horse girl, and then feeling the pull to do something professional, or how did that transition happen for you?
Yeah, so it had been a move I've been wanting to make for a little while. Oddly enough, trucking and transportation was not my true passion. It's a great industry to be in. Met a lot of really fantastic people. Had a lot of fun for a long time. Great boss, great everyone at my agency. But I'm sure like you've talked to a lot of people. Everyone There's a fair amount of people that go out of industry in the beginning or like early to mid career just to get a little bit more experience. But oh my God, everyone ends up coming back because at the end of the day, we're all horse girls. And so I know I needed to return. So there was a little bit of an opportunity with my agency to go part time. I still consult for them. But that gave me honestly a really nice kind of jumping off point. So I'm gonna be honest, I still had a little bit of revenue coming in through my consulting work for them. So that gave me a little bit of room to be able to make that plunge going back into my own world or that back into the equine world is, a freelancer and then trying to build my own agency up there as well.
And 100%, I think everybody can understand when you're in the building stage, beginning stage of your business, you have to do that strategically. So that makes perfect sense. Okay, so let's dive in. We're talking about digital ads because, like I said, you have that expertise and outside the industry and in, which I love because the whole is effective digital ads, right? Not just the top numbers, which you will get us to. But first, would you, for those listening, so I always try to be aware that those listening are on varying levels of understanding the marketing pieces and the jargon. And so when we say digital ads, most people are automatically like, oh, she's talking about Facebook these days. Like that's where a lot of times when I talk to people, that's where they go first. But define for us when you say digital ads, what that is, and then tell us about some of the things that you are seeing right now in terms of challenges with advertising, and then even some things that are maybe working really well.
Yeah, absolutely. So Meta, Facebook, Instagram is definitely part of digital advertising. But really, it's at its simplest word, paid placements anywhere that you see online. So that can be, say Google ads, display ads. So when you're on a website and you see some banners with rotating ads, that's probably through the Google Display Network. We're talking about, Google, YouTube, TikTok. So it's a whole environment online. And part of, strategy for this is choosing and figuring out where your audience lives and then choosing those platforms.
Okay, so that makes it perfect sense. So for those listening, like yes, sure, people are on Facebook, but also, as Jillian is saying, like really think about where all they might be, not just one concentration. That's as she's talking about digital ads, it's across the board. So therefore, Jillian, would you share with us some of the things that you are seeing personally right now in terms of challenges and then also what is working well?
Yeah, absolutely. So really what's working well is, especially with horse people, you have to be authentic. They know if a piece of tack is wrong or if a laid position isn't quite right. And that really helps. Actually, it will ruin your credibility. So really leading into true authentic visuals and images. So that also includes video. Honestly, AI is a huge detriment. I see it, especially visually generated AI images. People can tell it's AI. It is getting better. Horses no longer have five legs. But, audiences are really connected to still real people, real images, real barns, real horses. So anything, especially visual, needs to be.
Okay. Can I ask a clarifying question? And I'm curious what you would say because sometimes the holdback for people, and it's getting simpler, I should say, but sometimes it's the holdback is yes, be real, but before it was like it has to be very professional quality. And so they oftentimes business owners would think in order to create that ad, they have to wait until they've got their branding package put together and have the elements and all those things. As far as what you are seeing that's working well, how important is that? Or actually, is it better to lean the other way that's a little more, I pulled out my phone and took this picture feeling?
That's a great question. Honestly, it's a little bit of a mix depending on the brand. Obviously, if you're more of a luxury brand, you are going to want to make sure that all your branding pieces are in order. You may, go do a professional photo shoot with a professional photographer down in Wellington. But if you're a little bit more, general horse audience, as long as it's like a decent picture, and honestly, iPhones can do a lot nowadays. It's okay to maybe grab a really great picture and use that in an ad. People are definitely still responding to both sides, just really where your brand lands on that kind of regular, uh, adult amateur, with backyard bar and they have their horses at home, all the way to the folks that are showing at Wellingtons, where your brand lands on that spectrum.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for diving into that. That's good and helpful because I know that is something that holds a lot of people back from jumping in. And I'm gonna guess you'll talk to this later, but yeah. Okay, I'll pause that. What I was thinking, I'll say this. What I was thinking when you were saying that I thought you might say, and so you can say, no, I'm gonna say that later, is actually test it. Like
Yes.
actually use both images and see which one your audience responds to better. But I'm guessing that maybe jumping the gun for you. So that's why I was like, hold
All
on, Denise,
good.
she's bringing that later. Okay, so absolutely being aware AI and what it's doing and be authentic. I will tell a short story with that. There is somebody in the entrepreneurial space, not equine space, that I don't even know if I follow his account anymore, but I did at one point, and a lot of people know him as like the person that helps with memberships. So I had an ad of his show up on my feed because, of course, I've curated my feed to be all horse businesses. And therefore, this ad shows up and it's him standing next to a horse that's clearly not him standing next to a horse, right? And then he
Mhm.
has like a quick intro and then it moves to him like a real life video. And I was just like, talk about the opposite of authentic. Like I was blown away because this guy, like he has teams of people that know what they're doing, but that felt so inauthentic and so not real and not you get me, right? Which was what he was trying to do by just picking all these different industries and then using AI to place him, as a clip to open it up. So I thought of that.
Maybe they were testing that, right? Maybe you were in a test.
There you go. That's so true. That's such a good point. Yeah. So, okay. So good. All right. So, what's working well, being authentic. What about some of the challenges that you're seeing?
Yeah. So some really common challenges I'm seeing across the board is making sure that you also have good, clean data from the beginning. A lot of these platforms, especially Meta, so that's Facebook and Instagram, they all run for the same advertising backend, and then also Google Ads. They really, really, really rely on data back from your website or any API. They have, for instance, Meta has an API that can feed data back into. Um, and if you don't have that, you can't optimize your ads correctly. And, if you're starting from scratch, it's incredibly time consuming, but make sure to really, really make sure that you have all of your data sets correctly from the beginning. Um, Other challenges, especially for smaller teams, and you hit on this a little bit earlier, of, ooh, do I have, everything quite right at the right, professional level to make sure that all of my ads, represents me and my business correctly. Um, and it's okay to start with a tree, not a full forest. So, focus on one campaign, make sure you have your one offer first. Don't feel like you need to launch with absolutely everything. That's going to get messy really quickly. So don't be afraid to focus on just one thing, optimize that, and then move on.
Okay, that's so good. All right, I'm going to back up to the data piece. And 100% you can say this is such a big question. But are there certain, like, can you give those listening? Because they're hearing that and going, okay, I hear you, Jillian. What data should I be paying it? Like, what do you mean by, for some, right? They're hearing you say website data and they're going, but we're talking about ads and just getting leads. What does that have to do with website data? So, can you break that down a little bit for them on a practical level?
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll start with Meta first. So you definitely want to go ahead and get your Meta Pixel and place that on your website. So essentially what that's going to do is it's going to feed information from your website back to your ads account on who's visiting, who's clicking through, who's actually making purchases for our, folks that sell consumer goods. And that will actually send that information, all that data back to your Meta Ads Manager. And that will let the algorithm optimize and go find similar people. It's like, oh, Shelly Green made a purchase. They have all her data points, right on Facebook. So they will go find other Shelly Greens. With Metapixels, it can be difficult. It's very arduous. It can be time consuming to get everything set up from the beginning. It's okay to reach out for help. There's lots of really great tutorials online. If you want to go the free route, you can absolutely hire an expert just to help you place your pixel, right? You don't need to use them for advertising. Um, and then Google Tags Manager works similarly for Google Ads. Again, it's tracking, who's filling out an interest form on your website, who's making purchases. And they're all using that data to back to the ads campaign and to go find similar people and making sure that they're serving your ads to the most relevant audience. With the uh, sophistication of both the Metapixel and Google Tags Manager nowadays, there's a lot less emphasis on true like advertising targeting, especially on Meta. So if anyone's been in the Meta Ads Manager backend, you can go, you can place your geographic targeting. You can, go, people who are FIS horse owners or people who follow USEF or maybe are in, the top, 20th percentile in income. You can target all this on the back end. But all of that's actually becoming less and less relevant if you have your metapixel placed correctly. And it's actually sending back more relevant information for you than trying to guess who those people are or go find them to the best of your ability.
That is interesting. I didn't know that, Jillian. I mean, yeah, the way you break that down, that does make sense. But tell me this: with the addition of needing people to opt in to cookies and tracking and all of
Mhm.
that, how does that impact the tracking between the website and Facebook and Google and whatnot, or Meta and Google?
Yeah, absolutely. So cookies are actually very different from the Metapixel or like Google Tags Manager. with a lot of the websites, websites nowadays, you can, opt out of tracking data, marketing data. I always go through and make sure I only select necessary only.
Right.
Because personally, I don't like being tracked. Professionally, I love it, which is always an interesting dilemma.
You name that. Yeah. As a marketer, you're like, please, can I get all the data that's possible? But as personal, yes, 100%.
Like,
I get that.
personally, please don't track me. So it's always I always laugh at that juxtaposition. And so these meta pixels and Google Tags Manager work a little bit differently. So when you opt out of those on the websites, it doesn't necessarily mean you're opting out of that, meta pixel traffic. So it operates a little bit differently. The biggest thing right now is actually iPhone users. Apple has done a tremendous job in implementing privacy laws and restrictions for any iPhone users. So that's actually been a little bit harder as a marketer because, that's decreased some of our just like visibility into data. So everyone please be safe.
That's awesome. Oh, that's good. It's important to name because that is definitely a question that people have. So, but what I hear you saying is, yes, it impacts it. That doesn't mean it's not working, and that doesn't mean don't use it. Just be aware. Am I hearing you right?
Yeah, absolutely. Still need it. You should absolutely still have it. But it's maybe just not as perfect as it could be due to privacy reasons.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, well, a word that you haven't thrown out at us, but I know that you and I, when we first conversed, you talked about, okay, really people want to talk about ads, but the more important piece is their funnel. And so, will you talk to us about that? You've talked about the importance of having a solid funnel if you want to truly effectively advertise online. And like you talked about, have that bottom number, have the, qualified leads, all of that coming in and not just looking at what we would consider vanity metrics, right? So would you break that down for us? What's your definition of a good funnel and how do you know if it's actually good?
Oh, this is one of my favorite topics to talk about. So I'll kind of go through definitions first, and then I'll kind of give an example. So it's a little bit more applicable for everyone. So a simple funnel is basically top level, mid level, and then bottom. So top funnel, you're mostly focusing on awareness. So that's going to be, your videos online, your organic social media, maybe some brand sponsorships and horse shows, just getting your name out there so people are aware. Metrics around those are going to be, social media, account followers, website or blog traffic, and then also anything you can gain from like sponsorship numbers and awareness. So if you know how many people were at the show, you can kind of use that for some of your metrics. So something I'm going to also be saying is KPIs, which is key performance indicators. So essentially just another word or abbreviation for metrics that we use in the marketing world. So KPIs. So a lot of these KPIs, like website or blog traffic, you can actually use in different contexts for different parts of the funnel. So it could be, for example, say, again, we'll use Shelly Green. Shelly Green stumbles upon your Instagram accounts. Oh, this is really interesting. And she clicks through into your website. So their top funnel is going to be, she found your account. She's engaging with it. She got some, you got some link clicks. Again, that's going to be all top funnel. Middle funnel is, she's actually through to your website and she's looking around. And then in this case, bottom funnel. So bottom funnel is your ultimate goal. This is what's truly going to move your bottom line and with your revenue. For service-based business, this will be a new client, or maybe if you have like a subscription membership platform, it'll be, anyone that's paying you for a membership or a subscription. So that is your bottom KPI. That is the holy grail. That is what everything is focused on growing. And then just going back to middle funnel. So again, these are folks that have discovered you. They're getting a little bit more interested. Maybe they've signed up for your email list. They've downloaded some freebie content, maybe like a guide or they've watched, a couple more videos that they have like submitted their email for. So you're getting a little bit more firsthand data from them, a little bit more personal data. And then from there, the bottom funnel, like I said, is going to be your purchases, your new clients, paying members. And so that's a basic, simple funnel. A lot of times, especially the bigger the company, you'll have a lot more than just like 3 funnels. And then, so a good funnel is essentially where you're meeting everyone where they are with the right messaging. And you can see any changes that you've made to, say, top of funnel. Maybe you've just put out some like brand engagement ads out there. And so you started the ads and you can see your website traffic grow into that mid funnel. That means your top of funnel is working. It's getting people to your websites, which is great, but not all website traffic is created equal. It could be just someone's curious, they click in, they're not going to really be interested in, say, buying a product from you. But again, focusing on that bottom funnel is, okay, you've started ads, you're sending more people to your website. Are you seeing more people buy from you? No, then your funnel's not quite there yet. We need to go back to that top of funnel brand engagement ad. Okay, what's not working here? Where's the disconnect from, oh, that's interesting, they click through, but they're not buying from me. So you'll see with a good, fully optimized funnel, you'll see everything kind of waterfall down and ultimately grow those bottom KPIs for you.
That's such a good breakdown, Jillian. I hope for those listening, like you can get a good visual because truly, when we talk about funnel, the best visual is like I always think about the funnels you use to pour oil in the car, right? Like
Exactly. Yep.
it's big at the top, or pour gas, it's big at the top, right? So yeah, you have those huge, bigger numbers, and then it gets smaller, and then it gets smaller because you continue to qualify your audience as you
Exactly.
go. Okay, that's a great visual. I'm curious what you would say for those listening. I come up with a question on their behalf, I guess, is how do I know, Jillian, what's not working, right? Okay, so I'm getting people to my website. Seems to be working. I'm getting the traffic, but like you said, they're not buying. How do I then begin to identify, is the problem my website? Or is the problem that I wasn't getting qualified leads in the first place and I'm not getting the right people there? How do you typically advise that they would go about figuring that out?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And again, that kind of also goes back to your previous point of testing. So you're going to have to test a couple of things. Test changing up your top of funnel ads. Again, do you start to see that trickle down? If not, okay, maybe it's the same traffic to your website. Take a look at your website. There's a lot of platforms out there that will give you heat maps of where people are clicking and where they're looking. And so, go find one of those, put it on your website and go see, okay, is there something misleading about my website design? Are people clicking on the wrong thing? Or maybe they land on my website and they don't know where to go. And then also with these ads, make sure the destination, so where you're sending them to, is related back to your ad. So for example, say you're selling a new bridle, or you've launched a new bridal product. Don't send them to just your general homepage. Send them to either the product page, or maybe you're focusing more on middle funnel content. Send them to, a blog article about how to properly fit a bridle.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure that your destination from those ads relates directly back to your ad. Never just send them to your website. That'll always guarantee that they just bounce.
That's such good practical advice. I love that. Now I have a question too, because you talked about, okay, option A, send them straight to the product. Option B, send them to some content that's serving them, educating them, doing whatever, building that. So for those listening, again, would you say it goes back to testing which one works? Or is it a matter of what you were talking about earlier, knowing bottom of funnel and what your success KPIs are, right? So perhaps it is getting them to be educated because then they're going to join your email list and then you're going to sell, like knowing the lifetime value is better when you get them on your email list versus straight to the product page. So tell me that. And again, what you're seeing, because you have seen so many of these ads and are helping people with them, should they expect a lower conversion rate when they're sending someone straight to a purchase page versus sending them to a page where they're only having to give their email address for something? What should those conversions look like in terms of expectations?
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. It really depends on who you're targeting.
Hmm.
So I'll go a little bit more into detail on that. So if it's cold traffic, if you are, say in the back end of Meta and you are advertising to horse owners within a 50-mile radius of Tulsa, Oklahoma, that is what I would consider to be cold traffic. They don't maybe don't know their brand yet. So I would send cold traffic to what I call a warm destination. So that's going to be the blog article on bridle fitting or a supplement education article. You're warming up, you're giving them education, and then you're also showing your own authority as well. And ideally, yes, somewhere in there you want to capture their email or their phone number for SMS marketing and texting as well. And then, so what's really great with these funnels and digital ads is you can target people who have visited your website before. So then that audience, if you're targeting to say website traffic, they're already warmed up. They know who you are. They've clicked through. They've engaged with your content. Maybe they're on your email list. Then I would start to send them more to the product page. Again, moving them through those funnel stages. So you can use multiple tactics, like digital advertising, even in-person print advertising. You can use, depending on your audience, you can use a lot of tactics for a lot of the different funnel stages. Just make sure that you're not jumping, top funnel traffic. You're not jumping them immediately to the bottom funnel. You got to move them through.
Love that so much because number one, I think for those listening that may be new information, because again, everyone has their specialty and it may not be ads like yours. So I love that you're giving that because it also gives them permission. Because often what I will hear from people is I tried ads, I put a bunch of money behind it and I got nothing. And when I dive deeper, often it is that they were sending a bunch of cold traffic and spending all their money behind this ad that they just wanted to make the sale. And they'd never even done ads before. And this was their first try and they didn't have, any sort of structure to it or journey to it or funnel to it. So you're going to help a lot of people with this, Jillian. I love it.
And yeah, you also hit on something there too. Test everything. Start with a small budget. Make sure it works. And then, invest more ad budget into it. Don't go, whole hog in with the entirety of your month's ad budget from the beginning. Make sure it works first.
Oh, yes, for sure. Okay, let's talk specifically to the horse world. And 100%, you could say, Denise, it's the same for everybody. But I do want to ask this question because you do see a lot in the equine space. And you were in a area before that was very niche down with the trucking and driving industry and transportation in that way. So when it comes to the horse world, when it comes to equine business owners, are there certain things that they should keep in mind as they're building their funnel?
100%. So it's very interesting in the horse world versus the transportation world. So at my previous agency, we were advertising for trucking carriers, trucking companies that needed CDL drivers. So we actually ran the recruitment advertising. We didn't do any of the recruitment ourselves. We captured the lead through a form and then sent that information to the carrier. In that world, that cycle is very, very short. Truck drivers, there's a huge shortage. So there's a lot of opportunity for them job-wise. So they can be sitting in their truck, scrolling through Facebook. They see one of our ads, go, oh, I can make more money there. Boom, done, click it. Information to the recruiter, hopefully the recruiter that calls them like 3 minutes later. So it's a very, very short impulse sales cycle. That is not the case in our industry. We're all horse people. We've invested a ton of time, passion, resources into this, and I'm sure other people have done this too. I will research a supplement for weeks with a very thorough Google sheet before making a purchase decision. So it's it's a much longer sales cycle than some other industries. So that's also really important for funnels too, is you have to give it enough time to work and see it if it's making a difference. So say, you've discovered that your sales cycle is, an average a handful of weeks, under a month. If you make a change in your, say, top of funnel, you need to give it like a month before you decide whether or not it's working or not. And again, that goes back to testing with the smaller budgets, to making sure that these micro changes you're making stay small at first, and then they work, then bigger ad budgets. So yeah, really make sure that you're giving everything enough time. And then, sorry.
No, go ahead. I was just going to piggyback. So no, go ahead. What's the next one?
Yep. Trust is everything also in this industry. Like going back earlier, authenticity is super important. The membership guy that you spoke to that had a really weird like AI intro that led into a real video, that ruined his credibility with you. And again, going back to all of the passion, all the time, all the resources we invest into our horses in our riding. People really rely on word of mouth and recommendations. So they ask their ride friends, their trainer, their vet, their farrier before making a lot of these decisions. So really also capturing testimonials from your clients, from your customers, and really showing that other equestrians purchase from you, buy from you, work with you. And that's going to show, future prospects like, oh, it's okay. It's safe to go with this product, this company, this person. And then also something that's definitely unique to our industry is, obviously equine industry is a big niche, but there's so many smaller niches within it. You can go Western. Well, you can go reining. You can go cutting. You can go ranch riding. Hunter jumper. You can go jumpers, hunters. So really make sure that your messaging, all of your visuals are reflecting who exactly is your audience for that specific campaign. Could be you have customers across multiple disciplines. That's fine. But, make sure that all of your, say, reining advertisements have reiners in them. Again, and everything's correct. Their legs are correct. They have a soft expression. And seasonality and regionality matter as well. So obviously, with competitive riders, there's big trends in, show circuits from season to season. Hunter jumper world, everyone's down in Wellington or down in Florida for the winter. And then, a lot of people go to Traverse City and Lake Placid for the summer. So really making sure where your audience is during that time of year. And then, also regionality. Right now, everyone on the East Coast is starting to battle mud season. That might affect, some of your messaging versus customers on the West Coast, especially in Southern California. We don't have mud season. There's no mud season out there. So making sure that all your messaging, all your visuals are matching exactly who your audience is, what they do, and where they are is going to be really, really important.
Oh, that's so good. So many good things. And as you're even talking about that, I've talked on the podcast before a lot. You may have heard this in your world too, but the trust recession that a lot of people have talked about online in terms of online purchases, and buyers are being more discerning. And so I feel like what you're saying is lining up with that, not just a recession in trust, but just they are more discerning is what I've talked about, right? So you have to do the things that you just said that really build up your trust and your credibility. And so that's so key. I love that you said that. All right. This may back up into what you've already said. So 100%, Jillian, if you're like, actually, I just gave you all the goods. But I always like to say, if you were sitting across the table from an equine business owner and they're talking to you about what I need to know about digital ads, are there some things to know that you would share with them given what you've seen and experienced?
Yeah. So really, we've hit on a lot of the points, but, making sure that you're building the foundation before you scale. Mm-hmm. So, making sure that you're starting small. Again, tree, not the whole forest. Perfect the tree, then move on to the forest. And test everything. Test, not even just for digital ads, but where you're sending them to test your button colors on your website. Test everything. And that's really going to let you optimize your entire funnel to kind of the most it can be optimized. With that, again, don't let perfection get in the way of momentum. As a very motivated type A person myself, I think as a lot of horse people are, we need everything to be perfect before we move on. And something that I say to myself a lot, good is fine. Nothing needs to be absolutely perfect. Don't spend, say you're designing a landing page for your ads. Don't spend a full month or a couple of weeks. Don't tinkering on a landing page. It's good, cool. Get it launched. Then start tinkering. But don't let perfection, this is really for an entrepreneur or someone just getting started. Don't let perfection get in the way of you starting. I think is one of my, personally also one of my big ones. And then something we really haven't touched on a whole lot, but moving people to your own channels. So what I mean by that is capturing that firsthand marketing data. So their email, their phone number. With a lot of these digital marketing platforms, algorithms are changing constantly. If anyone's worked in Meta, it can be, a hair pulling experience. Yeah. Sometimes technology does not like to play. And so with all of that, you're really at the mercy of these big tech companies. So as soon as you can get people to your website and everything, start capturing their information so you can reach out to them directly. And that's going to be the most reliable way, especially as, everything changes with all these big tech companies. This is the most reliable way to make sure that your marketing can continue and you can also build a sustainable business down the road as well.
100. I back that up 100%. We've talked here on the podcast about the importance of that because renting versus owning is two very different things.
Yeah.
Yeah. So good. I love that. And taking action. As somebody I've talked openly on the podcast, that perfection held me back for a long number of years. And last year was like, okay, I'm shedding that label. I'm no longer perfectionist, but I still catch myself with the tendency sometimes. But being able to just recognize like, okay, good. Like the sayings that you just said, and I believe I've shared this on the podcast before, but people would say things like good is better than perfect. And I'm not a violent person, but I would just want to be like, can I hit you? Like, like seriously, that really ticks me off when you say that. That's my own internal stuff, right? But it holds us back 100%. Yeah. You're right. Like action brings clarity. And even as I've been in the process of promoting and selling my group coaching program, the Business Barn Collective, getting that sales page up and then constantly tweaking it has been a thing, right? But it's up and then I go, oh no, I need to get that or I need to edit that. It's always going to be a learning experience and growing. But if I just sat there and said, I can't put it up until I'm 1,000% with it, it would just not get up. So permission for those listening as well, if that's holding you back, to just hit publish. I have a super practical question for you though, Jillian.
Yeah.
When people hear test the landing page, change the button colors on such a practical level, are you using and recommending there are tools to do that in terms of testing pages, or are they literally going to create a second page on their website and one has one button color, one has another. So they're going to go in Meta and set up this ad that goes to this page and they're going to set up this ad, which everything's the same. I know you would say that with testing. So for everybody to hear, I'm sure Jillian would say test one thing at a time. So therefore the ads would be the same. And the only thing different would be the button color in the different pages. Is that what you're saying? Or are there tools that they should be using to do that instead?
No, that is a phenomenal question. And I will also could rant about this for a long time. So it depends on your website platform.
Okay.
A lot of website platforms have built-in A/B testing where it's super simple to set that up. Where you can even still send it to the same URL, but on the back end, and you can even with some of these platforms tell it, send 10% of traffic to version A, 90% to version B. Maybe you're testing version A. So some of these website platforms are incredibly set up. They know exactly how to help you A/B test. It's very simple. Others have absolutely no capabilities to do that. So that is when you would set up 2 separate pages, 2 separate URLs, and then do 2 separate ads to test that. So it really just depends on your website platform and its capabilities.
Okay, that's so helpful. And when they're testing, and you can say depends, Denise, but I'm going to ask anyway. Is there a certain number of days or time that you suggest they expect to then make a decision, right? So I'm testing A and B. A and B has a higher conversion rate, so we're going to send everything to option B. Is there a general time period that you advise people on that, or is it depends kind of answer?
It depends. But I will
Tell us what it depends on. Yeah,
I will clarify that. And almost everything in marketing goes, it depends.
yes.
Yeah, so for clarification, you want to look at kind of what your normal rhythm is. So say in a week, this specific page, product page gets 1,000 visitors a week. So okay, out of 1,000, then also you want to look at your conversion rate. So if for every say 1,000 people, say 175 actually end up making a purchase. So that's like what, a 17.5% conversion rate. So again, you throughout the testing, you want to keep an eye on that bottom funnel data. So you get 1,000 people every week. Approximately kind of what your average conversion rate is to your bottom KPI. Take a look at. Okay, so for every 17 and a half visits, you should get, I'm sorry, is that math right?
I don't love doing math in my head
What
anymore.
I get for trying to do math on the fly.
So low little judgment on any of that. I'm like,
Oh,
and at 1.75, actually. So we had too many zeros. Yeah. Yeah, because 17 out of 100 would be 17%. So yeah, that makes sense. 1.7.
yeah. Okay. So, figure out of, how many visits it takes to get a conversion. And then kind of figure out what a statistically significant number would be. So, okay, say you run a test ad for 3 days, say your website traffic is, again, that 1,000 over 7 days, and it's an even, right? So every day you see approximately 143 people through to your website. Start with, what was like a number? Start with like 20% of website traffic. So say out of that 1,000, give it 200 website visits or page visits. Is that converting? Are you seeing a better conversion rate, the same conversion rate, or a lower conversion rate? So again, it depends on just pure volume to get enough data that's going to be statistically significant. And that's going to take a little bit of a judgment call on your end, what exactly that looks like for you. But again, if you have a little bit slower website traffic or slower traffic, you need to give it more time. Say some of these like huge brands that are getting 10,000 page views a day. You can make a pretty good judgment call within like a handful of days. But if you have slower website traffic, it might be a week or two.
Yeah.
Just again, make sure you get enough time to see that trickle down to, is it converting?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I have another question for you then. Conversion rate. Is there an industry standard? Those that are listening are going, okay, Jillian, then what should I expect for a good conversion rate on a page? And let's be specific. So let's say we're looking at conversion. I would guess this is different. So maybe you can tell me. Conversion rate number 1 for that middle of funnel where we're not asking for credit cards and we're not asking for money. Is that going to be a different number for what we should be aiming for compared to a page where we're actually asking someone to make a purchase? And if so, what numbers should we look for?
Yeah, specific numbers are going to depend.
Yeah,
because everyone has a slightly different offer, a just slightly different setup. But your top to middle conversion numbers are always going to be bigger than your mid to bottom. Again, that funnel starting big, narrowing down. So that bottom number is always, conversion rate is always going to be smaller than your more top to mid funnel conversion rates. If you have, there's a lot of numbers online. So everyone has like a good idea of kind of, yeah, I, online sales for equine industry. Go do some Google. Go see if anyone's posted conversion rates out there that are similar enough to you to give you at least a little bit of a range of a goalpost on where you should be or where you should be aiming
Okay. All right. So I did a quick Google and I would love for you to respond to this.
for.
So
Yeah.
the average conversion rate, who's this coming from? Let's verify that, right? Um, this one
Always
is from a
verifying.
blog, right? I'm like, let's get actual 2026
Mm-hmm.
data. They are saying approximately 9%. That's across all industries. So should somebody be quote unquote happy if they are getting a 10% conversion rate, or should they be looking at that and going, no, I need to get that closer to that 20% mark? What would you say to someone if you were analyzing? Obviously, you'd be looking at a lot more data, but I'm going to give you just that piece.
No, I would say that would be a fair goalpost to aim for. Obviously, as your campaigns mature, your business gets older, you're going to get more personalized data just from your end.
Mhm.
Um, but I would say 9% is probably a good average to start off with.
Okay. That's so good. And even for those listening too, what I'm hearing you say and what I want people to take away with is that knowing your numbers. Also, when you're setting goals to measure, like if you know that you need to sell X number of places in your clinic or X number of memberships, right? Then take these standard numbers and just give yourself again, once you do it more, you'll have better benchmarks. But for those starting out, they can take that, okay, I need 10 people in this program. I'm running ads to get 10 sales. So let's back that up. How many people do I need to get on my email list? How many people do I need to get on that page? And have those numbers to back up your decision making.
No, I absolutely love that. And that's one of my biggest things is knowing all of your data backwards and forward, sideways, every which way. Because you can actually, forecast for, future campaigns. Maybe your business has seasonal trends. So, you slow down a little bit in the winter. Uh, so knowing all of your data backwards and forwards will also give you very easy goalposts and take some guesswork out of, oh, is this working or not? Because that's always a
Mhm.
terrifying place to be in.
Yes, 100%. I love that. Okay, Jillian, you have been a gem. I've asked you so many questions left and right. Is there anything else before we go that you want my listeners to know about digital advertising in the equine industry?
Um, reach out to us, test everything. And start with a tree, not the forest.
Good.
So start small, good. Don't let perfection get in the way of momentum, but making sure that every decision you're making is strategic. You're starting small and you're testing, then you're investing. And just to also don't compare yourself to everyone else, especially on social media. I know that's very common, but everyone is going through these exact same questions. Everyone gets frustrated with Meta Ads Manager. So just know that like exactly what you're going through, everyone else is going through too. And just always reach out. There's always people happy to help. I'm always happy to help answer, especially any questions or anything. It's a lot, but so much fun.
I love it. That's so good. Okay. As you were talking and you said that about test, I thought about our original conversation when I told you I have had clients that have said, Denise, I spent $300 and I got nothing. And I didn't get the conversions I was hoping for. And it's similar to what we talked about earlier, right? They had a little misstep in understanding in terms of bottom funnels and all those things. But also, I want you to real quickly, I said that was the last one, I know, but I would love for you to real quickly speak to those who have had that feeling in terms of just giving them permission to understand that first you're buying data. So that is something like a lot of people don't understand that piece. Yes, funnels, all on board. But then initially, if you're just starting in that initial investment, you've talked about testing and you're testing to buy data to see what will work, right? How would you say it?
In the beginning, we are paying to learn.
Mm,
We are not technically always paying for conversions right off the bat. We are paying to learn. And that's what I always tell all my agency clients throughout my entire career, even with back to our tracking clients, is you're giving this 30 days. We're going to bring lots of learnings to you. But especially with some of these campaigns, it can take up to 90 days, especially if your ad budget is with more sophistication in ad structure, campaign structure. But you're paying to learn at first, and it's okay. And again, starting with a small ad budget, testing, getting learnings, and then moving forward with a bigger investment.
That's so good. Okay, I'm glad I said that because for those listening, I want them to walk away for solid expectation, right? And to understand that they're not failing when in those first 30 days, their numbers don't match what they were hoping that they would match. But it is a long-term game plan, not
a lot of marketers, I like to say this too, I love to fail because learning what doesn't work is just as important as learning what does work. So if ad campaign doesn't go well or a test doesn't go well, it's fine. You're getting a lot of learnings from that you can apply going forward. So yeah, absolutely give yourself the space to go, oh, that did not work. Now I know what to do going forward.
Yeah. So good.
Take a deep breath.
Yes.
You're good. Take a deep breath.
Yeah. Okay. I love that. I'm glad we ended with that because I do want to make sure they enter in with the right mindset and understanding what to expect with that. Okay, Jillian, you've been so generous. So where can I send everyone to connect with you? Of course, I'll have your links in the show notes for the episode. But for those listening and that just want to go find you online real quick, where should we send them?
Absolutely. You can find me online at morelegmarketing.com on Instagram as well under the same handle. Please feel free to find me on LinkedIn. I'm just Jillian Blades-Rice. And then I've also started a Women in Equine group as well. So go into Facebook, just Google Women in Equine. The group will pop up. And it's a really great community for women that are professionally in our industry. Lots of resources, support, growth. A lot of people post job opportunities in there, questions. There's been meta ad questions in there. So it's a fabulous community for everyone to come and join as well.
Yes, absolutely. Yep. I will put that in the link. That's how we met. That's how I met another podcast guest and someone spoke into my small group community. And so, yeah, I'm a huge fan of that networking. So thank you for doing that and giving generously. And we will for sure share that in the show notes too. All right, Jillian, thank you again. I really appreciate it.
Awesome. This has been wonderful, Denise. Thank you so much.
All right, friends, I hope you enjoyed getting to know Jillian and learning from her. As promised, I will link to that Women in Equine Facebook group in the show notes in case that interests you. If you just go to Storm Lily, so Storm, LILY.com/217 for episode 217, you will get the links there to the Women in Equine Facebook group, the links to Jillian and what she is doing, as well as the highlights of the conversation and takeaways that you can take and apply in your business as you build out your advertising strategy. I hope that you leave today feeling equipped and encouraged, but of course, my encouragement to you is that you would select one thing that based on this conversation with Jillian, based on what you have learned, I want you to select the one thing that you are going to do to take action now in your business that's going to help you meet the goals that you have. So that big dream that you were chasing after, whether you've been in business 10 years, 5 years, or 2 years, what is the action step that you are going to take to get there? And that's going to make a difference with your advertising. All right. And of course, as always, find me on social media. Feel free to share with me the things that you are learning, how you're applying it, and the results you're getting. I love to hear from you guys and connect with you. And I love it when you, of course, share the podcast because that lets even more horse business owners know that this is here as a resource. As I said, this is episode 217. So what that means is there are 216 other episodes diving into practical and strategic ways that you can market and grow your business sustainably. So please do share the podcast, please do take action, and please do find me and let me know how you're doing that and the results you are getting. As always, I will be here cheering for you, praying for you, and believing big things for you and your horse business. Thanks for joining me here today. I'll see you back soon, next week actually, with another new episode. Have an awesome day.